You want to try it?
Looks like it's working. Do you want to check?
Geo hanging, I can throw the messenger.
Yes, that's more successful now. That wasn't there before, was it?
Oh, okay. But usually you see numbers. Let's see what happens. Somebody go on Facebook and see if I'm there. You're live. We're building an audience for you. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's working. Sorry we're late, but we ran into difficulties beyond our control. That does happen. Just wait a second. The material world will always remind you you're not the supreme controller, right? Airplane mode. Okay. So, welcome everyone. All we need is an umbrella. Everything will be perfect. It's really bad now. Actually, what you need is 2 people.
Yes, I told him.
Yeah, that's good.
As far as I can.
That's good. Okay.
Wait, I'm coming. Oh, yeah, it's only here. This part. Other side. You okay? It's only here.
So today we're gonna talk about
I'll try it. I'll give it to you. Okay?
We're going to talk about things that you may not understand. And I was reluctant, when we began giving these classes, I was reluctant to talk about these things. But as I said before, you may not understand, but you'll understand that you don't understand. If you know what I mean. But you may understand something. And if you don't understand anything, don't worry. Because we're talking about very high stages of love of Krishna. And we have no experience of this in this world. So, Hare Krishna. So if you don't understand, don't feel bad. We'll try to make it as simple as we can, so you can understand.
No, you move a little. Can you closer? Closer. Okay, this side. Otherwise.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the sun out of... Yeah, okay. So, we had been discussing asakti, which is attraction, and that leads to bhava, and bhava is also called rati, and rati means attachment, and bhava means ecstasy. So, are you ready? Are you ready to go to bhava? Love of Godhead is the mature fruit of devotional service. Love of God, prema, is the mature fruit of devotional service and practice. So we're practicing. What are we practicing to get? What are we practicing to achieve? What's the goal? Prema. That's what we're doing. We're practicing to get to prema. Prema first appears in an immature state, and that's called bhava. So bhava is prema when it's immature. It's the first bud. And what happens in the stage of bhava is that you become aware of your relationship with Krishna. You don't know any details, but the details get revealed in the stage of bhava. And then we said last week in the stage of asakti, you have an inclination for a relationship. In the stage of bhava, then you know that's the relationship. Thank you. The difference between the two stages in all the other stages before bhava, you're trying to come to the ecstatic platform. But at bhava, you're there. So in that sense, you achieve the beginning of the result, the first stage of it. But bhava is sometimes considered a practice because it leads you to prema. So sometimes it's called bhav sadhana, the practice of bhav. Even though it's an effect, it's also a practice to get you. It's the effect of all your bhakti, you get bhava, and then bhava will give you prema. And what are the effects of bhava? The different ecstatic moods of devotional service. At the level of devotional service and practice, advancement is gradual. Why? Because we're still in material consciousness. So basically, it's kind of like the difference between a sick man and a healthy man. So the sick man, he's working very hard to get healthy. But if the healthy man's working very hard, he'll become like an Olympic athlete. So like the same effort, but you're sick, right? So you're putting all this effort. So we're in the material world, we're practicing devotional service, putting in all this effort, but we're still within the material modes of nature. So it's slow. But once you get into bhava, you're not in the modes anymore. So then it's very fast, right? A person trying to advance is like a man who has his hands bound with a rope, who's trying to free himself. When devotees serve with ecstatic emotion, they are on the spiritual platform. The same chanting and hearing is then free from material encumbrance and is fully potent. Endeavors at this stage give rapid results, propelling devotees towards love of God. Yeah.
Maharaj, what does it mean that I heard that the devotee can fall down even from the stage of bhava? But
Yeah.
if there are no moods in the stage of bhava already, what does it mean? Why he can fall down if there are no moods?
He doesn't really fall, he just gets deviated. And what's the main thing that can make him fall? Vaishnava aparad or Mayavad philosophy? Otherwise, it's not going to fall.
Thank you.
And Mayavad philosophy is so poisonous. The desire to be God is so strong that even from the stage of bhava, if one hears it, he becomes bewildered. He can become bewildered. You can become God. Just pay me 100 rupees and I'll give you a mantra, you can become God. Sound attractive? Think about it.
But you pay 100 rupees and then you figure that nothing actually happens in your life. So,
No, I convince you. And you're convinced you're God. And we came to the material world to be God. So the philosophy is so contaminating that even from the stage of bhava, it can affect you. And if you commit aparad, you see, Prabhupada was explaining that in the lecture this morning. He was saying that It's Krishna who holds you up. But if Krishna stops holding you up, you fall, right? So if you commit, so you're in the spiritual energy, Krishna's holding you up. You commit aparad, you can't hold yourself up. So if he removes the spiritual energy, then you fall. But generally, those are the two ways you would fall from Baba. I mean, you could say Maharsh Bharat, he didn't really commit offense, and he wasn't a Mayavad. He just got distracted. But when he came back in his last life, he was on the stage of Baba. So he didn't really fall from it, he just temporarily got distracted. But Mayavadi philosophy, you can fall. Aparad, you can fall. We'll discuss that more. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and one then is situated in Baba. So in Baba, the heart is melting. And because the heart is so soft, that one experiences different ecstasies. So one's no longer under the control of the modes of nature. Now he's on Shuddha Sattva. Then how can you... Yeah. That's the beginning of love. But it's not love, because you can't fall from love. The primary characteristic is in the verse, Shuddha Sattva Viseshatma. This is the verse I just read. Shuddha Sattva Viseshatma. That's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and then one is situated in Baba. The primary characteristic of ecstatic devotion is that it is pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, Viseshatma. Its secondary characteristic is it softens the heart by various tastes. It's okay.
Is it okay?
That means our heart can't be softened before the stage of Baba.
It can be softer than it was when you first became a devotee, but not soft enough to experience Sattvika Bhava emotions. It's getting softer as you advance, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that emotion exists even on the stage of Shraddha in the beginning, but it's a very small amount. So there is some softening of the heart even in the beginning, but it's not much. Oh my God, the recording stopped. So depressed. I'm so dependent on technology. What do I do now? Commit suicide? I'll try this. Hare Krishna. Gauranga. Yeah. So as you advance, there's a little more Baba. At each stage, there's a little more Baba. So from the beginning, Shraddha, to the stage of Bhava, each stage is a little more Baba. But they don't call it Bhava stage 1, Bhava stage 2, Bhava stage 3. They call it Shraddha, Sadhusanga. So it's giving a name of what's going on at that level, but at the same time you're getting a little more Bhava. So your heart is becoming soft. but not soft enough for the rays of love to shine through. Does that make sense? Not soft enough to not get mad at the wallow when he comes late. That's a private joke. Not soft enough to experience ecstatic emotion. So we experience a little something. Sometimes we experience a little. But at Bhava, you're always experiencing it. So we experience a little because we experience emotion for material things. Right? You notice that? You have emotion for material things? That's because we lack emotion for Krishna. So as you go higher, naturally there's less emotion for material things. The first line of the above verse describes the primary characteristic of devotion. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. Sun ray means the first signs of love for Krishna. When you transcend the modes of nature, then the first signs of love of Krishna come, and the first sign is emotion. Before that, there's attraction, and then the attraction and the attachment increases to the emotion. Well, before that there's attachment, asakti. And when the attachment increases, then there's emotion. Increases enough that you're no longer influenced by the modes of nature. Jiva Goswami stresses that the use of the words Shuddha Sattva and Visesha highlights the importance of Samvit, and Ladini. The cognitive potency empowers devotees with full understanding of all truths. This is so interesting. When you come to Bhav, then you understand everything. Like we say, Sat Chit Ananda, right? So the spiritual potency is Sat Chit Ananda, but it's Ladini, Samvit, and what's the other one? Sandini. That's the Chit Shakti. So Samvit is knowledge potency. So when you transcend the modes of nature, and you're in this stage now, Bhava, you know everything. Listen to this. The cognitive potency empowers devotees with a full understanding of all truths related to Krishna. By that potency's grace, conclusive truths can appear in the hearts of even illiterate devotees who have no access to Scripture. You understand? There's no, tamagun, rajagun, sattvagun, there's some degree of ignorance. That when you're beyond those modes, there's no ignorance. Now you're under the influence of the Chit Shakti, which contains this Samvit potency, and Samvit is cognizance. Now, you know without reading, without being told, you know. Sound good?
Like Shaktipat, transcendental Shaktipat of Krishna.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah. Then you have the pleasure potency. That's the Samvit potency. That's the knowledge potency. The pleasure-giving potency then empowers such devotees with tender and deep emotions, saturated with feelings of possessiveness towards Krishna. So you're out of the influence of the modes of nature, and now you're under the influence of the transcendental Chit Shakti, so then you get knowledge, and then the pleasure potency comes, and that's where the emotions come. And the only reason we don't have emotion for Krishna, because we're in the modes of nature. And so the pleasure potency is not fully manifest. Maybe it's manifest a little bit during kirtan or some parikrama, ecstatic hearing and chanting. It's shining through. But this is when it's there all the time. So it's kind of difficult to adjust to it also, because you're not used to it. The pleasure-giving potency empowers such devotees with tender and deep emotions, saturated with feelings of possessiveness towards Krishna. These emotions include all forms of love of Godhead, up to and including the topmost stage of sublime ecstasy, Mahabhav. These higher states do not manifest themselves at the level of ecstatic devotion, but are present in seed form. So you experience ecstasy, but when you go into prema, then other ecstasies manifest. And so here it's described in the stage of bhava, some of these ecstasies are manifest as seeds. And when you advance further, they'll be manifest as, they'll manifest in the stage of prema. You ready? You want to do it? You want to know how much it costs? You want bhava? I can tell you how much it costs. You have to give up every desire for sense gratification. That's how much it costs. That's the price you have to pay. Tisaya chariya kabe shudha habe mana. Where will I see Vrindavan as it is? I will see Vrindavan as it is when I no longer have desire for sense gratification. Until then, I just see what my eyes are seeing, what my mundane consciousness sees. The combined effect of the cognitive potency and the pleasure-giving potency is wonderful. Before devotees attain the stage of ecstatic devotion, they are situated differently than the Lord. They're on the material platform, he's on the spiritual platform. We're on the material platform, our object of affection is Krishna, he's on a different platform. At the stage of bhava, this differentiation ceases to exist. The devotee's on the spiritual platform, Krishna's on the spiritual platform. Devotees then can fully understand the Lord's name, form, quality, paraphernalia, and entourage, because the curtain of diluting energy no longer separates them from the Lord and his internal energies. So, you could say they have a bird's eye view. They're right there in the spiritual energy. They're not looking at it from a distance. They're there. They're in it. Is that all right? So that's the first time you and Krishna are like in the same place. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you understand out there? If you don't understand, it's all right. Because what it's saying here is even if you don't understand, if you follow the process, you'll come to the stage of bhava and you'll understand. So I was saying yesterday that, or I was writing, I don't know if this letter may be posted on, I think I wrote something, can't remember, I spoke it or wrote it, that if you follow the process, 16 rounds, 4 regular principles, read Prabhupada's books, do service, if you follow the process, then, and you do it your whole life, you get the result. Even if you don't think you'll get the result, you'll get it. So you might hear these things and think, well, this is amazing. How could I get there? You just do the process. Someday you get there, then you understand everything. Because you're not covered by the modes of nature, which makes it difficult to understand.
How to give up all desires to sense gratification if by intelligence it's not going to work? It comes back because of moods.
As I said last night, eat more prasadam, do more kirtan, read more. Protect yourself. When you get a little taste for Krishna, then you don't want these other things. If you do devotional service well, even if you want these other things, you won't have any energy to pursue them. Like, let's say you have so many desires. You may want so many things, but I suspect that if I put a lot of those things, even all of those things in front of you, you might say, actually, I don't want them. They were just the samskars from the past, right? So when you're doing devotional service, you're in the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness, there's no energy to enjoy things of passion and ignorance. So even in there in your mind, they don't connect enough with your heart. Because you've been up in the morning, you've been chanting your rounds, you've been studying the Bhagavatam, it's been telling you you're not the body, you're not the enjoyer, you're not the controller. You've been hearing about Krishna, enjoying with Radha, you've been relishing those pastimes. So you have these samskaras that are just hanging around, but because you're engaged in devotional service, there's not a lot of impetus to pursue them. And if you understand that, then they don't bother you, because you know these are just samskaras, past impressions, and I'm not really inclined to do anything about it, even though they're there, even though the mind is popping up. Now, I heard something yesterday, it's quite interesting meditation. It's something I haven't taught, and I've studied it before, so I'll teach it now because you asked the question. It's not so much about the material desires, it's about where your attention is placed. Like you may say, my mind is difficult to control, but really, it may not be exactly your mind's difficult to control, but where are you putting your attention? Because your mind isn't all bad. Your mind has many things. It has good things and bad things, right? Have you ever had a good thought? Okay, that means your mind has something good in it, right?
I thought it was intelligence. Our minds like always bad.
Could be intelligence, but it shows up as a thought, and so the mind processes it. But the point is, what you choose to focus on is what's going to affect you. So you have all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of samskars. Where are you choosing to put your focus? Where's your attention going? So something comes up, and you realize, I don't have to put my attention on that. It's not necessary to put my attention on that. And I was just saying the other day, when something comes up and you think, oh, I'm so bad, just see what I'm thinking. Now your attention's on it. So when you think, I shouldn't think it, your attention is actually on it. And then you think, I'm a rascal because I was thinking that. Your attention's on it. And then you think, I know I shouldn't think about it, but I'd like to do it anyway. Your attention's still on it. Right? So if you understand, the thought can come up and then you can decide to put your attention somewhere else. Then,
It's a conscious decision you have to make. You have to be first aware that it's involved.
well, I think before you have even that, you have to be aware that you can choose where you put your attention. Because I think a lot of us are not aware. A desire comes up or something comes up, whatever it is, jealousy, envy, anger, greed, who knows, lust, it comes up, and then we follow it, and a lot of times we follow it because we think that it's come up and it's grabbed my attention and therefore I'm kind of helpless. Rather than thinking, I've placed my attention on it, I can place it on something else. Right? Just like, imagine you're in the temple right now. You just walked in to the temple, you rang the bell, and you see Panchatattva, and you pay obeisances. Now imagine you were last night in class. If you weren't in class, imagine you're in the Vaishnava Academy sitting in class. And I'm up there talking and you're listening. Now imagine you're down in the Ganga. It's middle of May, it's very hot, it's 5 o'clock. You go to the Ganga to cool off. It's very nice, you feel very cool. Now imagine you're back here again, right? So what did we just do? We placed our attention on 5 different thoughts. Right? So that shows us that we have potentially millions of things we could think about in the mind, and we decide where we place the attention. Now, sometimes a thought comes to grab your attention. Hey, Leela Shakti, check me out. Look at that. That's what you really always wanted, right? That. And then you say, let me think about the deities. Or let me think about my service. And you just move your attention off. So you don't think, oh, I'm such a rascal. How could I think like that? Or you might think like that, but still you pull yourself. Now, there's an exercise that's done by people in the South Pacific. And when they have bad thoughts, they just say to themselves, I'm sorry. And they don't analyze, they just say, I'm sorry. Like, it's like an apology to yourself. I'm sorry for thinking like that. Please forgive me. And they say it's like super powerful. It's like you just like release it by forgiving yourself for thinking, oh, I'm sorry I thought like that. Please forgive me. Because, you don't want to think like that. So that you can try that. I'm sorry for thinking like that. Please forgive me. Yes? It means 8 things. Not just crying is one. Trembling is another. The voice choking is another. Hair standing on end, romancha, kampasu, crying, perspiration, dizziness, I think, or fainting.
Also, Mataji, is like we can cry and feel some emotion, but it can be just sentimental sentiments. How make the difference between bhava
Well,
and sentiments?
it's bhava is, you're crying on bhava is a result of bhava. And you're crying on another level as a result of the level you're on. So, it's not that if you're crying, it's not Krishna consciousness. It's just maybe a little bhava, but not this level of bhava. Or it could be mundane. It's possible. You want to hear a funny story? This Muslim cleric, what do they call them? Imams? Imam? No? So he was giving lectures every day, and this one lady would come and she would cry, sit in the audience and cry. So one day, he was curious. What is it that I'm saying that's stimulating you to cry? Maybe he thought he was saying the wrong thing, or maybe he thought he was saying something good. She said, oh, I had a sheep, and he just died. And your beard is just like his. And whenever you move and talk, it reminds me of the sheep, and I cry. There's another story. Gorkishore Das Babaji was doing his bhajan, Nam bhajan, and he's becoming quite well known and renowned as a great sadhu. So some imitator thought, well, I'll do the same thing and then I'll be recognized as a great sadhu. So then he set up bhajan kutir like in that area near Gorkishore Das Babaji, and he started chanting. And the example was given, maybe Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave it, maybe not. The example was given, if one of you ladies, you go into a maternity ward, you're not pregnant, you go in the maternity ward, and you just start saying, oh, oh, will you have a baby? But I Hare Krishna, Krishna. Are you going to experience ecstasy? Because you're faking it? Will love come from faking the sound? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, if you're feeling some bhav by Krishna's mercy and you cry, that's wonderful. And how will you know it's bogus? Because you'll become proud. I'm crying, the others aren't crying. That's bogus. Right? Yes? I'm so advanced I cry in kirtan. Nobody else cries. That's not the stage of Baba. Stage of Baba, you exhibit extreme humility. Yes? Is that okay? As far as all the material desires and the other things that we don't want, you can choose what, they may come up, but you choose what you focus on. Is that okay? Okay, we have a question somewhere. Does Krishna slow down our advancement until our last few days so that others don't become envious? No. We slow it down. Krishna's ready to run with you. We slow it down.
But there are many people who say, when they was there when somebody left the body, explain.
Yeah, that's Krishna's mercy, but he's not waiting till the end just so other people don't become envious.
But that means to take the end of life because we have to get rid of our attachment. And then it's easier for Krishna to come.
No, I think he's taking them away. Well, it's natural to get rid of them at the end of life. You know, you ever lose something that you were thinking of giving away, but you didn't? And then somebody stole it or you lost it? Or it fell out of your pocket and broke? Did that ever happen to you? One time, years ago, my wife went to Lowy Bazaar with a pile of money and came back with like no money, and she only spent like 10% of it, and it's like, what happened to it? And she says, I think I dropped it out of my purse. I go, oh, you made a donation. We weren't making donations to the Brajbasis. I guess, oh, Krishna wanted you to make a donation to the Brajbasis. So, you know, his question was, would Krishna slow our advancement down so others don't become envious? No. And I said, we would slow it down, not him. But at the same time, Prabhupada he's repeatedly said that these higher stages of devotion, they can't come when you're not qualified for them. So it's there. You just have to wait till you're qualified. And all you can do is do your best. And you can't do any more than your best. And then wait for the result. Right? Like, I take a medicine and like, okay, how am I going to make it work? Should I jump up and down? Should I do a headstand? No, you just take the medicine, take it as prescribed, follow the diet as prescribed. It'll work in time. But when am I going to become strong? Can I become strong tomorrow? You will become strong. It just takes time. You can't become stronger than you are right now. So that's kind of like what we're saying. When will I achieve this state? Well, you can't achieve a state that you're not on yet because you haven't qualified yourself for it. When will I become a millionaire? When you have $1 million, in case you didn't know. That's when you become a millionaire. Well, why can't I become one tomorrow? Because you don't have $1 million. It's basically the same answer. Why does it take so long to become a millionaire? Because you have to set up a business. And that takes years, and it has to be a good business, and you have to make it work. It takes time, but if you do it right, you'll become a millionaire. And you can't become one before you are one. It doesn't work that way. Why can't I have big muscles? Well, you have to work out every day for a few months. Why can't I have them tomorrow? It doesn't work that way. Why can't I have bhava tomorrow? Now, part of that mentality that Prabhupada would say is cheating mentality, because I want love of Krishna without working for it. And if I get love of Krishna without working for it, then it's not going to work. So, a lot of times the struggle, Prabhupada said, I was reading this morning, Prabhupada said, Krishna wants to see how patient and tolerant you are. So sometimes he makes things difficult. It's like, okay, here's a test. We're going to give you a prize if you pass the test. First, I'm going to throw some boulders in your path and see what you do. You sit there and look at the boulder and start crying and turn around and go home. Or do you figure out how to get around the boulder? And who put the boulder there? That was Krishna, because he wanted to see what are you made out of. So before you're going to get to this level, he'll test you at this level. And then we say, oh, why is it so hard? Why make it so hard? Doesn't he love me? You ever say that? But I feel now that he makes it hard because he loves you. He loves me, because it makes me work harder. You know, I know personally that I sometimes I feel like being in Mayapur and hearing and chanting, you're so Krishna conscious, sometimes I feel like infallible. I'm infallible, And then I think, I probably don't even need to chant. Not that I stop chanting, but that there's a sense there that I'm doing so well in Krishna consciousness. I chant, I don't chant. Everything's blissful here, it's transcendental. Krishna doesn't allow us to live that way. If we think that way, we do a crash landing. Right? Like a little kid thinks he can climb a tree, and he doesn't care, and he just climbs it really fast, and whoop, he slips down. Overconfident. So if Krishna didn't do that, it would be really hard for us. We would just think, hey, I'm infallible, I've been a devotee for a year, no problem, take sannyas. I'm infallible, I'm detached. Chant good rounds, bad rounds, even no rounds, I love Krishna. No, he doesn't make it that way, because that's how we think. We give up. We give up when you see, when you get love of Krishna, you do more service. But if you get it in an immature state, you do less service, because now you have it. You see this with devotees who get initiated. That's the day where everything's supposed to really take off. That's the day they quit. Okay, I got initiated. Okay, see you later, Guru Maharaj. I made it to the top. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, initiation means today you become a bona fide neophyte. That's the meaning of initiation. Today you become officially at the bottom of the pile. And we think, no, I got initiated, I'm at the top of the pile. No, you're not. You're at the bottom. So, when you get love of Krishna, there's all these symptoms. Utilize every moment in Krishna service, you become humble, like that. If we get too much of that here, in this stage, we just get lazy. You agree? If love of God's the goal, and I get it, hey, I got it, no more Mangal Artik for me. I'm going to kick back, turn on the AC and kick back, give me a coconut water. Life is good here in Mayapur. I've got love. Business, work's over. You don't have to do anything, right? Whereas if you actually get love, that's when it really that's when your devotion manifests in a higher way. Right? Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, you will experience it. Right? And that's what Sahajiyism is. we love Krishna.
But
What?
Sahajas are not on the stage of love, of praying, no?
They think they are. There are different kinds of sahajas, but yeah. Hmm. 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 So we were just talking about how now the devotees on the spiritual platform. We'll go a little longer because we started late. I have another question. At the end of your life, even if you are far from perfection, will Krishna make up the gap, or do we need to believe that for him to do that? It's up to him. But I don't think Prabhupada wants us to think, or doesn't want us to live our life thinking, well, it doesn't really matter how advanced I am, because at the end, Krishna will make up the gap. What if you die in a car accident? That doesn't give Krishna much time to make up the gap, does it? Because you're only going to give him a 1/12 of a second to make up the gap. So the way Prabhupada preached to us was just be Krishna conscious. I mean, Prabhupada said, you'll go back to Godhead if you follow him. So how exactly that happens, he didn't say. He didn't say, don't worry, I'll come and save you. I mean, sometimes he said it, but I think the main focus should be on becoming Krishna conscious, more than going back to Godhead, right? That should not be the focus. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. You know, that obsession, we're not obsessed with those things. Nara, pavarga, no. Pavarga, Narakeshu, heaven, hell, whatever. Not important. What's the verse? I'm forgetting. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when devotees leave the realm of devotional service and practice and approach the realm of ecstatic devotion, they abandon all false designations pertaining to the body, although they have not yet attained their spiritual forms. So what happens is, when you get to the stage of bhava, you know the relationship you're in, but you don't know who you are. So you know you're a Saki or a Saka or a Gopi or a Manjari or whoever you are, but you don't know who that is. You just know, this is my relationship. So when that starts to manifest, it naturally destroys this identity, the physical identity. Because if you understand your eternal identity, this will seem strange, this identity. Won't it? Because the living beings are quantitatively insignificant, not qualitatively, quantitatively insignificant, there is a risk that in such a state, shorn of all material identity, devotees may succumb to the desire to annihilate their individuality. Isn't that interesting? You come to the stage of bhava, you transcend your material identity, and then you want to get rid of all identity. Crazy. To protect devotees from the desire to merge into impersonal Brahman, the pleasure-giving potency embraces them, transforms their devotion from that of practice into that of ecstasy, and gives them a taste of their spiritual identity. Emboldened by newfound strength, devotees leave behind any thoughts of Brahma Jyoti and plunge into the world of pure goodness. So, rasovarjam rasopyasya. You get, when you're experiencing bhav, then what else do you want? You know the verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, once they attain this, they think there's nothing greater? That's bhav. Why would you think there's anything greater? The reader may wonder how the body, which is composed of material senses, mind, and intelligence, can become an instrument to reveal Adhokshaja, the Lord, who is beyond the range of material sense perception. You're on the spiritual platform now. Your consciousness is, you have a material body, but you're not at all material anymore in consciousness. A lusty man sees all women as object of his lust. The Vrajavasis see Krishna everywhere. Ecstatic emotions, which reside eternally in the Vrajavasis, shine in the hearts of qualified devotees. Empower them with the sprout of love. Ecstatic devotion then transforms and molds the devotees according to his will. So basically what's happening is, when you achieve the stage of bhava, it's like everything material is just finished. It is all transformed spiritual. So that example is given. A lusty man sees, what does it say? He sees women as objects of his lust. That's what he sees everywhere. And then when you're in the stage of bhava, you see Krishna everywhere and everything. You can't forget him. You're just not on the material platform anymore. So all these questions of, how do I control my mind? What do I do if I'm envious? Sometimes I eat too much. What should I do? All that. Oh, that's finished. You're not on that platform anymore. And the more you ask those questions, it indicates the more you're on the platform. The less you ask those questions, it indicates you're transcending that. You're going higher. Then you're asking more questions about how to awaken love. That's what you're interested in. How to awaken love. That's what's on your mind. That's what you want to talk about. The appearance of pure goodness in ecstatic devotion is partial, not complete. Rupa Goswami uses the word amshu, or ray, to denote the extent to which pure goodness appears in bhava. Love of God, prema, the full manifestation of pure goodness, is like the sun. When a single but fully potent ray of the Krishna sun touches a devotee's heart, ecstatic devotion instantly becomes manifest. Just as a spark falling onto dry leaves quickly grows into a forest fire, one ray of pure goodness entering a devotee's heart quickly flares into a blaze of love of God. So, you were surprised to say, now bhava is Shuddha Sattva, but it's the first ray. It's partial. It's not the complete, because prema is the complete. Now, the nice thing about hearing about this, even if you don't understand much, is that, as I was saying earlier, or before we started, I was saying that this is the state of the unconditioned soul. When we are unconditioned, we are no longer conditioned by the three modes of nature, because conditioned soul means conditioned by the three modes, right? That's what it means to be a conditioned soul. So, unconditioned soul means not conditioned by the three modes, and then conditioned by the spiritual energies, Swarup Shakti. Then when you get into that position of Swarup Shakti, then automatically all these things manifest. So it might seem like foreign to us, but it's kind of like going to a penthouse. You go up the elevator, and I just was watching, last night I couldn't sleep, and I'm become very interested in studying other religions. So I was studying other religious leaders. all the corrupt religious leaders. And this one, on his way back from some preaching tour, stopped off somewhere and rented a suite that I think was 15,000 square feet. It was a hotel suite. It had a swimming pool in the suite. And it was $10,200 a night of the congregation's money for him to stay there. But in this analogy, you may be living in a little one-bedroom flat next to the hotel. And, you know, you don't even have heat, you don't have air conditioning. The paint is peeling. The floor is just painted cement. You've just got some old torn dhoti for curtains. You got a plastic chair for a couch. Everything in the house you found on the street, you know. So, and you're sitting there thinking, I can't imagine ever, like, being in a nice apartment. And then I come and say, hey, my friend's up in the penthouse, let's go. So you go to the penthouse, you don't have to do anything. Now you're in the penthouse. Everything is just, it's just perfect. There you are. You're sitting on the nice couch and the big television and the people in the hotel are serving you whatever you want. That's what happens when you go to the penthouse, right? Come, my friend, he's going to let us stay. All of a sudden, all these people are knocking on the door. What would you like, sir? Anything I can get you, sir? That's what happens in the penthouse. You go, yeah, I'll take this and that, and they come, they bring it. Could I have a fresh squeezed lemon watermelon with a little ginger in it? Sure, sir, we'll get it for you. And then it shows up in 10 minutes. That's what happens when you're in the penthouse. But in your little one-bedroom dirty flat, you can't imagine that. Because that doesn't happen in your house. So when you get out of the modes of nature, automatically, this is what happens. You don't create it, it's just... So, you know, we think, oh, I could never achieve it. But that's what you achieve. It's not achieving, it's just, that's what it is. That's what happens when you go there. I travel a lot, right? So sometimes I will travel from the winter to the summer. Because if you go to Australia, or you go to South Africa, or Mauritius, or Argentina, you'll be in the summer. And it's like, it's a little bit of a shock, because you just come from a cold country, and then all of a sudden, you show up and everyone's in t-shirts and shorts, and the palm trees are blowing, and they're eating mangoes, and you know, it's like completely different from where you came. You ever had that experience? You ever done that? Yeah. So it's like you're just there, and it's the environment is nice. It's just you didn't have to create it. It's just how it is, right? So when you go there, you just relax immediately, right? Right? Go on the beach, white sand, turquoise water, walking on the beach. Haribol. It's just nice. So it's like when you reach that level, then it's just different. It's like just changing environment. So it's not so don't think it's something you do. That is just Krishna says, okay, it's time to go, and you go. And everything is good. And that's why it said that bhava and prema are given. They're not achieved. So when Krishna's ready to take you there, then whoop, you're free from the modes. He changes the energy and everything's good. One big happy party, right? And that's your natural position. That's where you belong. All right? I have a question. If a devotee reaches the state of bhava, should they keep it a secret? And if so, why? Yes. If you can. Because people will misunderstand it, number one. People will try to imitate it, number two. So, we describe these ecstatic symptoms of bhava, right? These emotions. But what Rupa Goswami did, he described activities. These are emotional states. Crying, hair standing on end, shivering, choking, perspiration, fainting, rolling on the ground. These are emotional symptoms. But anybody can do that, right? We could have kirtan in the temple, and you could just roll on the ground and start screaming. You know, especially if you're a good actor or actress, you could probably convince people, right? And people do that. So Rupa Goswami said, these are the symptoms of ecstasy, but the problem is people can imitate them. So he listed 9 or 10 other symptoms, which are actions which can't be imitated, like using every moment for Krishna, humility, detachment, these things. You can't imitate that. There's other stuff you can imitate. Krishna, 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 Krishna. You can imitate that, right? Oh, Mahatma, you must be experiencing ecstasy. Krishna, Krishna. And then I put on a show, right? Krishna, Krishna. And you think, oh, he was showing ecstasy today. He's so advanced. Right? Haribol. But humility you can't fake. Detachment you can't fake. Utilizing your time you can't fake. All the symptoms. So he lists those symptoms. So those are the symptoms we want to manifest. And sometimes Prabhupada manifested ecstatic symptoms, and then he apologized for it. So generally we keep them hidden. Because you want to set the example of sadhana. That's what we're all following. Otherwise, if everyone's going around crying and rolling on the ground, what kind of movement do we have? Sahaja. There are other movements. There are other Gaudiya movements. I don't know if they're Gaudiya movements, but there are other Vaishnava movements in the line of Mahaprabhu that do not practice Vaidhi Bhakti. They start with Raganuga Bhakti. That's where they begin. So,
How are they doing it?
I just teach Raganuga Bhakti. I don't know how they do it externally, but they teach, that everything should be natural, not forced. I mean, that's true to some, in some sense, in some small way, we're also doing Raganuga Bhakti because we're worshipping Krishna and Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's part of Raganuga Bhakti. But we do Vaidhi sadhana first. Raganuga Bhakti, it'll naturally manifest in the stage of bhava if it doesn't manifest before, because you know your relationship there. And you're already worshipping Krishna and Braj, so that's how you'll worship him. Another question. Is the relationships of disciple and guru continue in the spiritual world? And what are they? Yes, but it may not. You see, it's like you have a guru, has a guru, has a guru, has a guru. So when you're initiated into a parampara, disciplic line. So you'll be in that relationship is eternal, but it may not exactly be with the same person. But the guru is also a principle, a tattva. What if you have 5 lives before you become perfect? You'd have 5 gurus. So, which one? And maybe you have 5 gurus in this life. What if you come back in your next life? Then you'll take a guru who is in the line of Prabhupada. So that means he's representing the guru you had in this life. The same line. Right? So in that sense, it's the same guru.
I heard that the guru has to come back to bring all these disciples
Yeah,
home.
yeah. That's there also. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Okay, let's take that statement. Your guru has to come back. Okay. So, logistically, that's going to be hard to work out. Because he has to come back and be old enough and then get you, and you have to still be alive. And let's say he comes back to save you, and then you die. You know, he's come back, and now he's manifesting. He's just starting to manifest his Leela as a guru, and then you die in Maya. So then how is he going to save you in that form? So someone who represents him will have to save you. Unless Krishna makes a divine arrangement, you stay alive long enough. But that, you know, the problem with that is then someone could say that Prabhupada said that. He did say that. That someone could say that Prabhupada must be back now, somewhere. And then now we're going to start to speculate. Where is he and who is he? Go to all the astrologers. Where's Prabhupada? He's coming back to save his disciples. And then we decide that so-and-so was actually Prabhupada. And if that's true, well then the GBC should just listen to everything he says. So, you know, Prabhupada never said that. So, your guru will make arrangement for you through his representative to take you. I mean, well, some of you who are younger, like if you're younger, how do you know you weren't a disciple of Prabhupada? How do you know you weren't a disciple of Prabhupada in your last life? You could have met Prabhupada, and then there was a devotee. He died when he was like 20, 1970. When were you born? Yeah, so you could have been a disciple of Prabhupada, initiated 75, you know, done, you know, whatever, got sick or whatever. 83, 33 years old, you died. 32 years old, you died at 82, and you came back. You could have been, how do you know? And now you get a guru who's a disciple of Prabhupada who represents him. So then it's the same thing. Prabhupada's coming back to save you as his disciple. Is that all right? B, you don't know. Anyone your age could have been a disciple of Prabhupada. It's possible.
And when we are older, we could have been disciple of
Bhaktisiddhanta, yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada's disciples could have been disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta. It's possible. Some of them. I think some of them were. So, Krishna will arrange your guru or your guru's representative within the disciplic succession, or the godbrother of your guru. There was an initiation here, and two godbrothers were initiating. And one godbrother was older, and one godbrother was younger. And the older godbrother's a little older, on the older side of Prabhupada disciples, and the younger one was a little younger, like one of the younger. So the older one said, I'm probably going to die before he does, so when I do, you take shelter of him. So, and then he becomes the guru. He's the representative of the guru. Is that all right? We can end now. Have your permission. Anything else? When you go to the spiritual world, then everything will work out, and all the camps, and everything will be perfect. And we'll all be together, and we'll say, wow, it's nice we're all here together. And we'll say, all that austerity was worth it, wasn't it? We did it. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, everything's perfect, Christina. Could Srila Prabhupada's form be his eternal form in Chaitanya Leela? But he never said what it was. Oh, Prabhupada, that form. Well, that form, in an expanded Chaitanya, I doubt it. I wouldn't say, that would be speculative. He's asking if Prabhupada's form as he came is an eternal form in Chaitanya Leela. Even if it were possible, there's no evidence for it. And if we start talking about it, then we'll be in trouble. or what should I say, we'll be in more trouble than we are now. You had something?
Yeah, I was going to say that the principle of Guru coming back, that when Guru leaves their body anyway, they don't leave you anyway. Just like we can have a relationship with Prabhupada, it's not with you,
Mm-hmm.
even though you may never met with Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, you at least you'll have an eternal relationship. For you, I mean, if your guru dies, he's still your guru. So for you, it's eternal.
but the reciprocation is still there anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And your spiritual master may have taken birth and is preaching somewhere else, but still, that connection you had with him here and him. You see, we were talking last night. There's another principle, Christina. I don't know if you were here last night. That when you satisfy the guru, Krishna's pleased. So, the guru left you his instruction. He's off. He may be in another body preaching in another universe. But those instructions that's him. And you follow those instructions, Krishna's pleased. You're connected with your guru. And everything works out just perfect. Otherwise, if you try to, become an atheist and try to figure out how all that makes sense, then you'll go nuts. Or double nuts. And you'll become an atheist also. Right? Yeah, that's what atheists do. They try to make sense of all this. Well, your guru has died, now he's in another body, and he said he has to come back, but he would only be like 34, so where is he now? Why hasn't he come back? And there's a lot of his disciples are in Maya, so why isn't he going to their house to save them? And what does it mean? And, right? But Prabhupada may show up for all of us at the time of death. And your spiritual master can ask Prabhupada to save you. Right? So anyway, it's all one family, one disciplic succession. Okay? We shall stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Mahatma Prabhu ki.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Mosquitoes ki jai. All of you who aren't here in Mayapur, you're missing all the fun. You don't get to sit here and get do mosquito prasad distribution. Where you can distribute your blood to the mosquitoes. And you can say, I distributed prasadam today. I did mosquito seva. Ki jai. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Next weekend I'm going to be in Bangalore, so I don't know. It's not going to work because my classes Saturdays in the evening. Yeah, it's not going to work. Maybe we can do a different day. I'll see. Okay, Hari Bol. All glories to all the devotees. Be good. Don't get into trouble till I next see you. Hare Krishna.